Now, gaslighting is an important aspect of Trudeauing. It doesn't quite capture it enough, but it's a big part of it. Like, remember when Justin Trudeau brought in all kinds of laws and rules, forcing people to lose their jobs if they didn't want to take the COVID vaccine, if they wanted to make their own healthcare decision?
The mandatory vaccination that's in place immediately for federal employees will look like. Proof of vaccination will be required by no later than the end of this month for all federal employees. Mid-November, enforcement measures will make sure that everyone is vaccinated.
People who choose not to get vaccinated don't get on a plane or a train, don't get to work in the public service, don't get to go to movie theaters or gyms or restaurants and other non-essential services. That's how we keep people safe.
Justin Trudeau made it so you could literally lose your job. You couldn't get on an airplane. You couldn't get on a train. Members of our armed forces who had served their country with pride and honor were suddenly kicked out for wanting to make their own healthcare choices. And then what does Trudeau do? He goes on TV and says this.
And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, I chose to make sure that all the incentives were there.
Classic Trudeauing, taking gaslighting to a whole new level that it needs a new word. Another big example of Trudeauing that you'll see time and time again. In fact, you'll probably see more of it as we get closer and closer to the next election. And that is Justin Trudeau accusing his opponents of dividing Canadians.
It has always been easier to divide in politics than to bring people together. But it's really hard to govern responsibly once you've created wedges within the population, once you've turned people against one another and made them more fearful. The small fringe minority holding unacceptable views that they're expressing, expressed by a few people gathered in Ottawa right now, microchips about God knows what else that go with the tinfoil hats.
This is the most divisive prime minister in Canadian history. He literally plays one province off against another, one region against another. He plays different ethnic community groups off against each other. He has one message for one group of Canadians and a completely different message for another. And how can we forget? Justin Trudeau made this outrageous accusation.
Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. We will choose to stand with Canadians who deserve to be able to get...
conservatives of standing with people who wave swastikas. And then, just a short time later, he allowed an actual Nazi to come and be recognized on the floor of the House of Commons during a state visit by Ukrainian President Zelensky. At a time when Russian propaganda was literally trying to define the conflict in Ukraine from their perspective as a war against Nazis, Justin Trudeau allowed one of the most embarrassing diplomatic incidents to happen in Canadian history.
I think it's going to be really important that all of us push back against Russian propaganda.
After accusing other MPs of standing with people who wave swastikas, this is the epitome of Trudeauing. Now, of course, there are components of Trudeauing that are similar to other words that exist in our language. For example, lying. Trudeau lies a lot. Hypocrisy. Too numerous to count. And gaslighting. Well, we all know examples of Justin Trudeau telling us that he never did things when we know he did. Now, I was thinking about this over the Christmas break. You see, sometimes dictionaries impose a definition and we can look it up and say, okay, that's what that word means. But over time, if people themselves start using a word or they've made up a word that catches on, the Oxford English Dictionary will incorporate that new word into language. That's something that's so neat about the evolution and the flow of English. I don't think the Oxford English Dictionary will add a new word just because I've shot this video and I send them a letter. But maybe if enough Canadians add their voice and say, yes, we've noticed this too, and we need a new word that really captures the new depths to which Justin Trudeau has sunk. Yes, he's hypocritical. Yes, he's told lies. Yes, he's engaged in corruption and scandals. And yes, he's gaslit Canadians, but what he does is so unique. It takes all of that together that we need a new word. So, please, take a few moments. and sign my petition. I'm hoping that if the good people at Clarendon Press in Oxford receive enough names from Canadians that they'll add the word Trudeauing to the English language. And as always, thanks for watching.